Can anyone tell me? I believe many of you should be able to do this. How IR, infrared IR element works. Can anyone tell me that? How IR works? Who can? Yes, Sia. Who else? Anyone else? Sia and Sarika has always been asking and answering. Can anyone else? Oh, yeah, Viram.
Yes, sir. If something comes near it, it senses it and it sends some lights which reflect our hand and go back to the transistor receiver. The transistor sends the light and it hits our hand or any object placed in between, and the light goes back to the receiver and it senses that and it works.
Okay, good, nice. They have explained it right. For just one more time, I'll explain for those who didn't understand. I'll just explain one more time. See, fine. So if this is the IR element, okay, this is the IR element. In IR element, we have this IR LEDs. These two are IR LEDs. In this, the transparent one is the transmitter. It sends some light. Transmitter. It sends. So it is called transmitter. And this black one is the receiver. Now this transmitter sends the light which we can't see because it is the infrared light and our eyes are not made to see the infrared light. So we can't see the light which it sends. Otherwise you would ask that when LED turns on, we are able to see the light. Why are we not being able to see the light sent by this IR LED? Because it's infrared light and our eyes are not made to see the infrared light. So it sends the infrared light. Now what happens when it sends the infrared light? Let me share my screen. See what happens. Here is the transmitter. Okay, so this is the transmitter. This is the transmitter. It sends the light. And then we have the black one, which is the receiver that receives the light. This transmitter is sending out the light. It sends out the light, but we are not being able to see the light because our eyes are not made to see that light. IR, infrared light, infrared rays, I would say. These rays we are not being able to see those. These rays, the transmitter sends. Now what happens when something comes in between our hand or wall or any other object? When one object comes in between here, when the object comes in between here, not transparent one though. Okay, when the object comes in between, now these rays will not be able to pass through the object and will bounce back. So these rays will now start bouncing back. So this is coming back, this is coming back, this is coming back, coming back, coming back, coming back, all way. Meanwhile, this receiver senses the rays coming back. Oh, something has come back. That means the rays have come back. That means there is one object in between. And that signal is sent to this control portion of the IR element, this one, the bigger one. And it says that yes, there is something in between. Okay, so transmitter and receiver, and here is the control that decides. So it is something like eyes, how our eyes work. It receives a signal and sends to the brain, which analyzes the signal. Same way, this analyzes the signal, and this sends the rays and receives the rays. This is how infrared works. Okay, is it clear?
Sir, if it is a glass, then it won't give the output, no?
If it is very good questions here. See, if it is glass, then what will happen? All those who have the elements with them, they should experiment this. Okay, what they need to do is they can just send the signal, they can put this in front of the glass and see what happens. It depends actually on the clarity of the glass, the quality, the clarity of the glass. If the glass is very pure, then the signals will pass through. But if the glass is not that pure, if it is impure, if it is dark, if it is plated on the other side, then some of the signals will bounce back. But still, you should experiment this. You can experiment with the glass, you can experiment with the water as well. Okay, what you can do is you can see, I'll not do here because otherwise I'll just make everything wet here. But see, if I turn on my this power element, and I can try not on the IR. Remember, I can pour the water like this, not on the IR, but in a way, so it passes like this, like a waterfall. Okay, and then see what happens. That means you are creating a kind of wall, a waterfall of the water, and then see what happens. Can IR detect that? Check it out. Okay, also check out the sunlight. Can it detect the sunlight? If you put IR with the buzzer under the sunlight, it will detect. Why? Because sun already has IR light, which we cannot see. Okay, the fire also has the IR light, which we cannot see, IR rays, which we cannot see. So if you put, a mastic or a candle, burning candle, then it will detect. This is how Pranav has made that fire extinguisher. It detects the fire and activates the pump. And he has made the fire extinguisher with the same principle. So this is infrared. How fun is it? Yes, it's too much fun to play with IR element. You can do a lot of things, very useful things with infrared element. Okay, I'll explain you some useful circuits with IR. All those who have elements, and many of you are about to receive elements in upcoming days, so they can do this. I'll explain you some of the car projects. I'll explain you the circuit with IR element. How do we do that? So first thing, you need to have the power element. So power is the default. So we won't discuss that every time. And then what happens if you put only the motor? So here is the power element, and then if we put the power element and two motor elements together, then it will power two of the motors. If I put it direct, it runs the car. But now, if I put the IR in between, if I place my IR in between and then motor, both the motors, if I place both of my motors like this, I'm just placing the LED at present because I don't have the motor around me. It must be playing somewhere alone. So, yeah. So this is the circuit. Now if you do, what will happen? Can anyone tell? Yes, Sia.
Sir, it would means when it would send something, then only it would go. It would move.
Correct. So now what will happen that the motors are receiving the signal. Motors are receiving. Motors are listening to the IR element. So what will happen? If I show my hand like this, then the motors will start and the car will start. But if I take my hand away, the motor will stop. Again, same thing, same thing, same thing. So it follows me, and I'll tell the car, hey, don't follow me. Okay, so I've created a follow me car. When I show the hand, it will go. Yes, yeah.
And sir, if we put the flip element, then it would keep on going, and when the IR would send something, then only it would stop.
That's true, correct. So that is the next version of the car. So here I have the flip element. Before that, I'll do only one change. Power, okay, the power, then a motor. I'm just juggling with the elements. Power, motor, IR, motor. Now, so this will remain on forever. Yes, yeah.
Sir, in that, if we put like that, then one wheel would keep on going, and the other wheel will move only when the IR would detect something.
Correct. So here in this case, what will happen now? See, here is power, motor. So this is actually not motor. This is LED. I have just put it here. So power, motor, IR, and motor. So now this remains on because it is not under control of IR. So this wheel remains on, and this wheel will turn on when there is an object. Okay, so if I show my hand like this, it will take a turn. Otherwise, it will keep circulating, keep circling. Okay, if I don't show my hand, it will take circles on the same at the same spot. How? So this is mechanical. See what happens? You can try this yourself on your table. What happens if you imagine that these two are your wheels? Okay, you put your fingers like this. Now, if you give the force, equal force to both, they'll move forward. No, see, they move forward. But what if you don't give the force? If you make one finger stick at the same spot, then in that case, so here, but now I'll stop this. I won't give the force to this finger. I'll put this. Now this finger is trying to move, but now this finger, my index finger is stuck. So big man keeps moving like this and will keep circling, and this will remain, the pointer will remain at the same spot. Okay, so same will happen with this car. It will keep circling. Fine. Then if I do one more change, here is the IR, and then I connect the flip, and then I have two motors. Then what will happen now? IR, flip, and two motors. What will happen? There is an object, the car will stop because here is the flip. What is the job of flip? Do the ulta. So when IR says yes, it will say no. There is an object, so stop. So motors will stop. There is no object, it will go. If there is an object, fine. Okay.